every civilization has left behind one pattern that appears again and again. The gods, beings who symbolized absolute power, and humanity, always portrayed beneath them. But have you ever wondered, what if one day a god himself chose to stand beside humanity? What if there was someone who broke the laws of heaven, defied the gods, and gave humanity something they were never meant to possess? Then what would history call him? A criminal, or the first rebel? And perhaps that is why, even after thousands of years, one name still lives on: Prometheus, a titan who stole fire from the gods and gave it to mankind. But his story is about far more than stolen fire. It is a story about power and compassion, about obedience and rebellion, and about a question that may still be just as relevant today. Should knowledge belong only to the powerful, or should it belong to every human being who is living in darkness? Our story begins long before the rise of the Olympians, at a time when the world was ruled by the Titans, ancient, colossal, and nearly invincible. Among them was Iapetus, and it was into his house that Prometheus was born. He had 3 brothers, Atlas, Menoetius, and Epimetheus. Each of them was different. One possessed immense strength, another was consumed by pride, but Prometheus was different. Before taking action, he chose to think, and perhaps that is why he was given the name Prometheus, meaning forethought, the one who thinks before he acts. While the other Titans believed that power ruled everything, Prometheus sought something greater. He wanted to understand the world, and perhaps that was the moment he became different from all the others. At that time, humans were fragile. They had no knowledge, no protection, no homes, no fire. When night fell, the world disappeared into darkness, cold, hunger, wild beasts. Humans feared them all. Prometheus often watched them from afar, huddled inside caves, shivering in the cold, terrified of the darkness. And perhaps, for the first time, a god felt compassion for humanity. But at the same time, another storm was beginning. Cronus, the king of the Titans, a ruler who feared his own children. For a prophecy had foretold that one day his own son would take his throne. So Cronus began swallowing his own children. But one child survived, Zeus. And when he grew up, he declared war against the Titans, a war between gods and Titans that changed the world forever. But in that war, one Titan chose not to stand with his own kind, Prometheus. He chose to stand with Zeus, because perhaps he believed Zeus would build a better world, but that would become his greatest mistake. The war was over. The Titans were defeated. The Olympians had risen. Zeus became the king of the gods. The heavens became his. The seas belonged to Poseidon, and the underworld to Hades. The world had changed, but what about humanity? They were still living in darkness. Olympus was filled with light. There was abundance and power, even immortality. But below, on Earth, humans were still dying in the cold. Prometheus saw it all. Slowly, questions began to grow within him. If the gods are truly great, why leave humanity in darkness? If knowledge is so powerful, why keep it hidden? But Zeus saw things differently. He did not want humans to become like the gods. Fire was more than warmth. It was knowledge, progress, civilization itself, and Zeus believed humans were not worthy of it. But perhaps Prometheus had already made his choice. One night, when all of Olympus lay silent, the heavenly city above the clouds glowed in golden light. Towering pillars, statues of the gods, endless stairways, and at the center burned the divine fire, a flame meant only for the gods. And that very night, Prometheus made his way to Olympus. No army, no battle, only a decision. With every step, he knew if he was caught, it would be far worse than death. For gods cannot die. And perhaps that was the real punishment. Yet he kept walking through vast halls where torchlight flickered across stone. In the distance, thunder echoed through the clouds. And at the center burned the sacred fire. Slowly, Prometheus reached it. For a brief moment, he stopped, as if he knew that after this, there would be no turning back. But then, he remembered the humans, shivering in the cold, hiding in the darkness, living in fear. And in the very next moment, he stole the fire.
It is said he hid it inside a simple fennel stalk. The greatest theft was carried out in silence. But in that very moment, the world changed forever. And for the first time, humanity saw fire. Light pierced the darkness. Warmth replaced the cold. Food could now be cooked. Metal began to melt. Tools were forged. And civilization took its first breath. But on Olympus, wrath had already awakened. Zeus had discovered the truth. And perhaps it wasn't the theft that angered him most, that fire had been stolen. It was the fact that someone had defied his command. And so, Prometheus was captured. He was taken to a desolate mountain. There, he was bound in chains for all eternity. But his punishment had only begun. Every day, a giant eagle would arrive and tear apart Prometheus's liver. And every night, it would heal again, so that the next morning, the punishment could begin again. An endless torment, a punishment worse than death itself. But the strangest part was, Prometheus never regretted it. Because below, on Earth, humanity had changed. With fire, they created more than light. They built a future. Prometheus defied the gods. That is undeniable. But if he hadn't, perhaps humanity would still be living in darkness. So what was truly wrong? Stealing the fire? Or keeping humanity in darkness? And perhaps in the end, the same question remains. Should knowledge belong only to the powerful? Or should it belong to every human still living in the dark? What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments below and tell us, which mythology should we explore next? And don't forget to subscribe for more fascinating stories from mythology.